Hi, I am Aritra Sanyal from India, West Bengal. I will read In God We Trust, an essay in Salman Rushdie's Imaginary Homelands, a book of non-fiction. I will read the initial portion of the essay. We stand at a moment in history in which, as we look around the planet, it appears that God, or rather former religion, has begun once again to insist on occupying a central role in public life. There could scarcely be a more appropriate time to explore the subject of the relationships between politics and religion. I am neither a trained theologian nor a professional in politics, so I can make no claim to expertise. However, I have found myself in my fiction unable to avoid political issues. The distance between individuals and affairs of state is now so small that it no longer seems possible to write novels that ignore the public sphere. Sometimes one envies Jane Austen her fine disregard for the Napoleonic Wars. Today, with the television bringing visions of the world into every home, it seems somehow false to try and shut out the noise of gunfire, screams, weeping, to stop our ears against the inexorable ticking of the doomsday clock. As for religion, my work, much of which has been concerned with India and Pakistan, has made it essential for me to confront the issue of religious faith. Even the form of my writing was affected. If one is to attempt honestly to describe reality as it is experienced by religious people for whom God is no symbol but an everyday fact, then the conventions of what is called realism are quite inadequate. The rationalism of that form comes to seem like a judgment upon and invalidation of the religious faith of the characters being described. A form must be created which allows the miraculous and mundane to coexist at the same level as the same order of event. I found this to be essential even though I am not myself a religious man. My relationship with formal religious belief has been somewhat checkered. I was brought up in an Indian Muslim household, but while both my parents were believers, neither was insistent or doctrinaire. 2 or 3 times a year at the big Eid festivals, I would wake up to find new clothes at the foot of my bed, dress and go with my father to the great prayer maidan outside Friday Mosque in Bombay and rise and fall with the multitude, mumbling my way through the uncomprehended Arabic, much as Catholic children do or used to do with Latin. The rest of the year, religion took a backseat. I had a Christian ayah for whom at Christmas we would put up a tree and sing carols about baby Jesus without feeling in the least ill at ease. My friends were Hindus, Sikhs, Parsis, and none of this struck me as being particularly important. God, Satan, paradise, and hell all vanished one day in my 15th year when I quite abruptly lost my faith. I recall it vividly. I was at school in England by then. The moment of awakening happened, in fact, during a Latin lesson, and afterwards, to prove my newfound atheism, I bought myself a rather tasteless ham sandwich and so partook for the first time of the forbidden flesh of the swine. No thunderbolt arrived to strike me down. I remember feeling that my survival confirmed the correctness of my new position. I did slightly regret the loss of paradise, though. The Islamic heaven, at least as I had come to conceive it, had seemed very appealing to my adolescent self. I expected to be provided for my personal pleasure with four beautiful female spirits or houris untouched by man or jinn. The joys of the perfumed garden, it seemed a shame to have to give them up. From that day to this, I have thought of myself as a wholly secular person and have been drawn towards the great traditions of secular radicalism in politics, socialism, in the arts, modernism, and its offsprings that have been driving forces behind much of the history of the 20th century. But perhaps I write in part to fill up that emptied God chamber with other dreams, because it is, after all, a room for dreaming in.